What if I told you that a dime, a coin worth just 10 cents, could make you rich? Welcome to the world of rare coins. Today, we're unveiling the top 3 rare US dimes that are worth more than you could ever imagine. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. Imagine you're going about your day, running errands, and you pick up a few things at the store. You pay with a couple of bills and some loose change. You're holding a dime in your hand, no bigger than a thumbnail, just like so many others you've seen before. Small, simple, and easy to overlook. After all, a dime is worth only 10 cents, right? But what if I told you that one of these dimes, specifically a 1990 USA 1 dime, could be worth an extraordinary amount of money, so much so that it could change your life? This is the incredible story of a small coin that went from a piece of everyday currency to a collector's treasure worth $93,000. The year 1990 might seem like a distant memory now, but back then, it was a time of transition in both the United States and the world. The Cold War was winding down, the internet was beginning to take shape, and the US economy was entering a period of strong growth. The country was optimistic about the future, and though the 1990s would come to be known for the rise of technology and global connectivity, at that very moment, most people were still dealing with the day-to-day realities of life, like using coins in their pockets to pay for a cup of coffee or a dime for a bus ride. It was just another year, and yet it would be one that would leave behind something extraordinary, something that very few people could have predicted. The 1991 dime was part of a long-standing tradition in American coinage, a design that had been in circulation for decades. On the front of the coin, you'll find the image of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt's face had been on the dime since 1946, just after his death, to honor his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. His image represented resilience and the values of strength, determination, and hope. On the reverse side, the dime featured a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. These elements had remained unchanged for years, giving the dime a timeless appeal. But in 1990, while this design was familiar and consistent, the way these dimes were made was undergoing a subtle but important evolution. The United States Mint, responsible for producing the country's coins, was constantly refining its processes and improving its machinery to keep up with demand. By 1990, millions of coins were being minted every day in large-scale operations at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. But even with all of the technology and the experienced workforce, mistakes still happen. And sometimes those mistakes can lead to something truly special, a coin with an error, or a coin struck in an unusually perfect condition. It's important to note that when most people think of errors in coin minting, they might imagine huge flaws, misshapen coins, or designs that are totally off-center. But many errors are far more subtle, often invisible to the casual observer. Some of the most valuable coins in history have been found because of small mistakes that are nearly impossible to detect unless you know exactly what to look for. And so, it happened with the 1990 dime. The US Mint produced millions of these coins, but among them, a small number were struck with imperfections. A misalignment here, a double strike there, or some other subtle error that would later make them highly valuable. These errors, though tiny, make all the difference for collectors who are on the hunt for rare and unique finds. One thing that set the 1990 dime apart was that, in addition to these minting errors, some coins were released into circulation in what is known as mint state or proof condition. A coin in mint state means it's essentially in perfect condition, showing no signs of wear, scratches, or handling. Proof coins, on the other hand, are specially minted with extra care to create an even more flawless appearance, often with a mirrored background and sharp details. These coins aren't made for general circulation. They're designed for collectors, and they're produced in limited quantities. Now, let's zoom in on how this seemingly average dime, one of many minted in 1990, became a treasure in the eyes of coin collectors. Collectors know that the value of a coin is not only about how rare it is, but also about how well it's preserved. A coin that has remained in pristine condition, untouched by time and circulation, holds a special place in the world of numismatics. The 1990 dime, while appearing simple and commonplace, turned out to have a number of unique characteristics that would make it a prized possession for serious collectors. However, it wasn't just the minting errors that made the 1990 dime unique. It was also the historical context of the time. In the years leading up to the 1990s, coin collectors had begun to notice patterns in the way coins were minted. Certain years would yield coins with unusual characteristics, either due to shifts in minting techniques or changes in the country's economy and political climate. The 1990s were marked by technological advancements, and some believe that this era of change might have had an impact on how the coins were produced, though it wasn't immediately clear just how much of an impact that might have had. Over time, collectors began to notice that certain 1990 dimes, particularly those struck with errors or those found in mint condition, were becoming increasingly rare. As a result, demand for these coins began to rise. But it wasn't until these coins hit the auction houses that their true value began to emerge. At auctions, rare coins often go under the hammer, and collectors bid against each other in hopes of owning a piece of history. The 1990 dime, thanks to its rarity and its striking errors, was suddenly a hot commodity. Then, in an unexpected twist, one 1990 dime caught the attention of the entire numismatic community. It was a coin that had been struck with a rare error, a double strike, which made the design appear blurry and misaligned. This was a mistake, but to collectors it was nothing short of a treasure. What made this dime even more extraordinary was that it was found in immaculate condition, almost as though it had been preserved in time, untouched by the wear and tear that would typically come from circulating in the hands of the public. It was a near-perfect specimen of a rare and valuable coin, and when it was auctioned off, it fetched an incredible price. And here's where the story gets even more amazing. The final price for this 1990 dime, the one with the rare error and flawless condition, reached an astonishing $93,000. That's right, $93,000 for a single dime that, on the surface, seemed no different from the ones you find in your pocket every day. It's hard to believe, but this rare, nearly perfect 1990 dime had become a collector's item of incredible value. The story of the 1991 dime is a perfect example of how something ordinary can become extraordinary. What began as a simple coin, minted to be used in daily transactions, was transformed into a piece of history that attracted attention from collectors around the world. It's a reminder that even the smallest and most unassuming things can hold great value, especially when rarity and perfect condition combine. So, the next time you come across a dime in your pocket or a coin you find at a thrift shop, remember this story. While most dimes are worth just 10 cents, there could be one hidden among them that's worth far, far more. And who knows, maybe the next $93,000 coin is sitting right there in your hand, waiting to be discovered. The year is 1997, a year that, in many ways, seems like just another chapter in history. The world was buzzing with change and innovation. The internet was becoming an increasingly influential part of life. The world's economy was shifting, and the U.S. was witnessing the rise of new technologies that would transform everything we knew about communication, work, and leisure. But among the excitement of the 1990s, there was something far less glamorous yet incredibly important. The 1997 USA one dime coined at first glance. A dime is just a dime, right? A small, silver-colored coin worth only 10 cents. Something you can easily forget about as it clinks around in your pocket or tumbles to the bottom of your change jar. But in the world of numismatics, where collectors and enthusiasts obsess over the smallest details and rare finds, this seemingly mundane coin would eventually reveal itself to be much more than just pocket change. It would become a rare treasure, a coin worth far more than anyone could have imagined in 1997. To truly appreciate how the 1997 dime became an object of such fascination and value, we need to understand the context of its time. The 1990s were a pivotal decade. On the global stage, the Cold War had ended, and the U.S. was enjoying a period of relative peace and prosperity. The economy was strong, and the nation was beginning to experience the impact of emerging technologies. Yet, amid all this, life went on as usual for most Americans. People were still paying for their groceries, using coins in their pockets to buy a coffee, and receiving their change in the form of dimes, those small, everyday coins that would soon become part of a larger story. The 1997 dime was part of a long tradition of American coinage that stretched back over a century. The design featured on the coin had been in use for decades. On the obverse, you'll find the iconic portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt had been on the dime since 1946, when the coin's design was altered to honor his legacy following his passing. As the leader who guided the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, Roosevelt's image represented hope, resilience, and the enduring strength of the American people. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll find the familiar symbols of a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch. These symbols are meant to represent liberty, peace, and strength, values that have been at the heart of the United States since its founding. It was a design that was simple yet powerful, a perfect representation of the nation's ideals. Yet, despite its timeless design, the 1997 dime wasn't necessarily viewed as anything special by the general public. After all, dimes had been around in one form or another for over 200 years, and the image of Roosevelt had been on the dime for over 5 decades. In the context of the late 1990s, the dime was just another part of the currency landscape, overlooked and underappreciated by most people. But in the world of coin collecting, things are never quite so straightforward. The smallest of details can make a world of difference when it comes to valuing a coin. The U.S. Mint, which is responsible for producing all of the nation's coins, was working in full force during 1997. Coins were being minted at various locations across the country, most notably in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each year, millions of dimes were struck to meet the demands of the public, as people continued to use coins in their everyday transactions. The minting process was highly efficient, and the coins produced during this time were of relatively high quality. However, it was during this mass production that the first hints of what would later make the 1997 dime so valuable began to emerge. The first factor in the potential value of the 1997 dime lies in the possibility of minting errors. When the U.S. Mint strikes coins, there are occasional mistakes in the process. These errors can take many forms, from double strikes to misaligned designs, and they can drastically alter the value of a coin. Some errors are very subtle, hardly noticeable unless you know exactly what to look for, while others are more obvious and immediately catch the eye. In the case of the 1997 dime, a variety of minting errors began to surface. These included things like doubling on the coin's design elements and slight variations in the way the coin was struck. For coin collectors, these errors are highly sought after. The rarity of an error coin, combined with its potential for historical significance, makes it incredibly valuable. But what really elevates the 1997 dime is the combination of these rare errors with the coin's condition. When a coin is found in what's known as mint state, that is, in near-perfect condition, as though it had never been used, its value skyrockets. Coins like this, which have been preserved over the years in pristine condition, are incredibly rare and highly prized by collectors. It's the perfect storm of rarity, error, and condition that makes a coin like the 1997 dime worth far more than its original face value. But what made this particular coin even more unique was that it wasn't just about finding one rare error coin. As time passed, more and more collectors and investors began to realize the potential of the 1997 dime. While most of the dimes from that year were minted in large numbers and circulated freely, certain coins, particularly those with errors or in exceptional condition, began to stand out. The numismatic community started to take note of these rarities, and soon, the demand for these specific 1997 dimes began to grow. This growing interest was fueled by the increasing value placed on coins with historical significance or minting flaws. In a world where people are constantly searching for something unique, something that sets a coin apart from the rest, the 1997 dime became a symbol of rarity and value. As collectors scrambled to find these special coins, prices began to rise. What had once been a humble dime, worth just 10 cents, was now being sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on its rarity and condition. However, the real surprise came when one specific 1997 dime, in flawless condition with a rare minting error, was sold at auction. This particular dime had been struck with a unique error that made it stand out from all other dimes of that year. The error was subtle but unmistakable to the trained eye. It was also in perfect condition, a true gem among the thousands of dimes minted that year. When this coin was finally sold at auction, it fetched an astounding price, one that stunned both the numismatic community and the general public. That's right, the 1997 one-dime coin, which had once been worth just 10 cents, was sold for a jaw-dropping $76,000. This wasn't just any dime. It was a coin that had risen from being an overlooked piece of currency to a highly sought-after collector's item. The combination of rarity, historical context, minting errors, and pristine condition turned this 1997 dime into a true treasure. So, the next time you find yourself with a pocket full of coins, remember the story of the 1997 dime. While most dimes will remain worth only their face value, there's always the possibility that you might come across one with a rare error or a pristine condition that could make it worth far more than you expect. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, you'll stumble upon the next $76,000 coin. Picture this. It's the year 2004. The world was buzzing with anticipation as people prepared for the upcoming change in the world's economic landscape, the rise of the digital age, and the many shifts in global politics. Yet, while these monumental changes were unfolding around us, something far more subtle, yet equally significant, was happening in the realm of currency. The U.S. Mint was quietly producing a coin that, though small and seemingly ordinary, would go on to become one of the most sought-after collector's items of its time. A simple coin, a 2004 USA one dime, would soon reveal itself as an unlikely treasure worth far more than its face value of just 10 cents. The year 2004 might not stand out for most people as a landmark year in history, but it was one that played a significant role in shaping the future of the United States. It was a year that marked the continuation of George W. Bush's presidency, with a contentious election taking place later that year. The economy, while experiencing growth, was also facing challenges, particularly in the wake of the aftermath of the dot-com bubble burst and the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. In the world of coinage, however, life was moving along as usual. Coins continued to be produced at the U.S. Mint, and dimes, the small, seemingly insignificant coins that were used in day-to-day transactions, continued to circulate without much fanfare. But in the world of numismatics, where even the most minor details can have a monumental impact on a coin's value, the 2004 dime began to capture attention. While the design of the dime had remained largely unchanged for decades, there were nuances in this particular year's mintage that would eventually make it stand out in a way no one could have predicted. To understand why the 2004 one dime became so valuable, we need to take a step back and examine its design, the minting process, and the factors that would turn this seemingly ordinary coin into an extraordinary find. The design of the dime has been iconic for many years, but it was in 1946 that Franklin D. Roosevelt's image was first introduced on the obverse of the coin. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, was chosen to be featured on the dime because of his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. His image represented the spirit of resilience and hope, and it was one that resonated deeply with Americans. On the reverse side of the coin, the design featured a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength, representing the values that America holds dear. For years, this design had become a familiar and unchanging feature on the dime. The 2004 one dime was no exception to this tradition. On its obverse, you still saw the image of Roosevelt, a face that had been etched into American currency for decades. The reverse remained unchanged as well, continuing to feature the torch, olive branch, and oak branch. To most people, this coin appeared as nothing more than a standard dime, another in the long line of Roosevelt dimes that had been minted over the years. However, while the basic design remained the same, there were subtle changes happening within the minting process in 2004. The U.S. Mint had been experimenting with different ways to improve production efficiency and the quality of its coins. New technologies were introduced to the minting presses, and the way the coins were struck began to evolve. In the case of the 2004 one dime, these improvements would not be immediately noticeable to the average person, but they would play a significant role in the coin's eventual value. The U.S. Mint operates several facilities across the country, including those in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, where the nation's coins are produced. By 2004, the Mint was running at full capacity, striking billions of coins each year to meet the demand for circulating currency. Yet, with the high volume of production, mistakes are bound to happen. And sometimes, those mistakes result in coins that are far more valuable than any minting team could have imagined. Coin errors, which are caused by misalignments, double strikes, or other anomalies during the minting process, can lead to coins that are rare and highly sought after by collectors. The 2004 dime was not immune to these types of errors. In fact, a small number of these dimes were struck with imperfections that would later make them highly valuable. These imperfections ranged from subtle double strikes to minor misalignments. While most people would have overlooked these errors, they were a goldmine for collectors who were searching for something unique, something that could set their collection apart from the rest. Coin collectors and enthusiasts know that rarity and condition are the two most important factors in determining a coin's value. And when it comes to the 2004 one dime, it was the combination of rarity, errors, and pristine condition that made some of these coins so valuable. Coins that were struck with errors or that had been preserved in perfect condition over the years became highly sought after. The coins that remained in circulation, subjected to the everyday wear and tear of life, were not nearly as valuable. But those few dimes that were kept in pristine condition, whether by collectors or simply by luck, began to rise in value. One of the most significant factors in the appeal of the 2004 one dime was its potential for finding rare variations. Some dimes from this year were struck with an unusual error, a double strike. This error occurs when a coin is struck twice by the press, resulting in a design that is slightly offset or blurry. The 2004 dimes that exhibited this error were immediately identified by collectors as being valuable, as double-strike coins are relatively rare and difficult to find. In some cases, the double-strike error was subtle, but to the trained eye, it was unmistakable. Coins like these, with clear minting flaws, were quickly snapped up by collectors who knew that they could fetch a substantial price. Yet, even more surprising than the errors on the 2004 dime was the rise in value of those dimes that were found in perfect, uncirculated condition. Coins that had been stored away in safe places, away from the wear and tear of daily use, were becoming increasingly rare. As more and more people began to collect coins, the demand for pristine examples of the 2004 dime grew. These coins, which might have once been worth only 10 cents, were now being sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on their condition and rarity. In fact, it wasn't long before the value of certain 2004 one dimes shot up to staggering levels. The highest known value for one of these dimes occurred when a particularly rare coin, in flawless condition with an error, was sold at auction. The coin had been struck with a subtle double strike, making it an incredibly rare find, and it was in near-perfect condition, showing no signs of wear or circulation. When this dime was sold at auction, it fetched a remarkable price of $35,000. Yes, that's right, $35,000 for a single dime, a coin that was once worth just 10 cents. This extraordinary sale stunned the numismatic community, as it underscored the value of rarity and condition in the world of coin collecting. The 2004 dime, once seen as just another piece of currency, had become a highly prized collector's item, fetching a price that few could have ever anticipated. What made this sale even more impressive was the fact that it wasn't just a one-off event. Other rare 2004 dimes with similar errors or in perfect condition were also sold for significant amounts, confirming that the coin's appeal had only grown in the years since its release. So, what does this story teach us? It reminds us that even the most ordinary things can hold hidden value. What might seem like a small, inconsequential dime could one day be worth thousands of dollars if it's rare enough, in the right condition, or struck with an error. It's a fascinating reminder that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and that sometimes the most unassuming objects can become treasures. Next time you're holding a 2004 dime, take a moment to inspect it closely. You never know, it might be the next coin to reach a value of $35,000, or maybe even more.